Trends in beauty come and go, but society's investment in the latest looks remain. But is it always good for us? With ads by notable retailers being banned and the introduction of AI models boasting unrealistic standards, where is the industry heading? Welcome back to Explained, the Southampton Solent University podcast where we attempt to unpack what's going on behind the scenes of modern life, from sport and science to music and law and everything in between. I'm your host, Robin O'Mahony, and in this episode, we're diving into beauty ideologies to ask, while we might have seen some progress in the beauty industry, where are we now? A quick note before we dive into today's episode, we'll be talking about some subjects which listeners might find triggering, including body weight, body image, and cosmetic surgery. Today I'm joined by Charlotte Logue, lecturer in makeup and hair design at Solent University. Charlotte joined Solent in 2020 and in the industry has worked with brands including Jimmy Choo and ASOS. Her research explores alternative perspectives of beauty. Welcome, Charlotte.
Hello.
Thanks for being here. Big subject that we're talking about today. One I'm personally super interested in, one that you're an expert on.
Hey, I'll take that.
Yeah. So I guess it's worth just saying the industry, the UK beauty industry, is worth a lot. So 30.4 billion in 2024, and a big rise in companies with the word beauty in their name, according to a gov.uk article in 2022. So I guess the first thing, and it's a really simple question, is why? Like, why have we seen this huge increase in investment in the beauty industry?
Yeah, I think it's something that's always been there, but definitely something I noticed was, I hate to hark back to the pandemic, but when the pandemic hit, obviously people were at home, and there was a massive surge within the beauty industry at that point. And I think the British Beauty Council released a statement around it that was around bigger than the car industry. The beauty industry had become economically. And I think from there it's just continued to grow. But I do think beauty is also a bit of that buzzword. It's something that has become incredibly marketable, and I think brands are aware of that, and that's why now we've got lots of companies that are doing kind of little spin-off beauty elements within companies. You know, H&M have their own beauty line and things like that. But it's definitely that big buzzword. But I also think there's a positive to that side. Like, yes, there is a massive economic boom, and obviously from job standpoint and for people going into those careers, that's phenomenal. But I do also think it's changing the narrative around beauty, and I think that can be positive. I think there are still issues in amongst that, but it's regarded less as a thing of vanity now, and it's more of a means of self-care and something you can do for you. And I think those are all positive connotations coming from this economic boom.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll dive into some of those challenges in a bit, but kind of before we get there, I'm really interested in this shifting, changing notion of what beautiful is. And beauty itself is something we're always pursuing, as old as humans ourselves. But before we dive into beauty standards, it would just be great to understand more about, we're so obsessed with this idea of being beautiful, and maybe have a snapshot from you on some of the ideals of beauty we've seen over time that feel notable.
Yeah, absolutely. So beauty changes, and obviously it's going to, because human standards, our likes, our dislikes, they all evolve over time. And we've seen that when we look at evolutions in fine art, portraiture, we see those shifting standards, whether that's body weight, hair length, colour of hair, skin tone, all of those things. But our obsession with beauty is actually quite evolutionary. And something that I talk about a lot is actually how it's very ingrained with us and as a survival instinct. And we don't tend to think about that. So we established beauty as a means of survival when we, hark back to the old cavemen times.
I was just thinking about them, actually.
Literally, that's where it comes from. So that is how we made judgments around the world about what was safe. So if, for example, crops were lopsided and looking a little bit funny, they're probably not safe to eat. If they're quite, symmetrical and look lovely, then they're probably good. It exists in the landscape anyway. So when we look at the landscape, there is a natural kind of beauty to it. There's the sublime, as Mary Shelley talks about in Gothic. But within that as well, we've also just have this innate thing to want to make things pretty. We like balance. And I think that just comes into natural order. The world, when you look at the environment, is balanced. Landscapes have balance. The sun is round, the moon is round, everything, has a mirroring aspect to it. So it's very natural that would be ingrained in us. I think the issues come in when that becomes a rock solid construct and a standard that isn't flexible, because the difference between us and the sun is that we are these little squishy things that run around the planet and are very asymmetrical and don't meet that. But that pursuit of it is very ingrained into us. And we see that even within the animal kingdom. You know, a peacock, male peacock, perfect example. That is an animal purely designed for looking fantastic and breeding.
Yeah.
That is not an animal.
Swishing those feathers.
Swanning around the
Freaking
place,
people out.
100%, screaming inaudibly in the night. But it's an animal designed purely for breeding, mating, and to look fantastic. If a wolf was to get a peacock, I don't know if wolves eat peacocks, but for instance, if a predator's going to go after a peacock, they're going to grab it. So it's an animal purely bred for beauty. So it is something that is natural.
Yeah.
But we've lost that viewpoint.
That is so interesting. I think the reason I'm so interested in it is and I said before we start recording, been on quite a journey myself of this. I think I've had quite honestly low self-esteem for a very long time, and that's been really hard. You know, I'm in my 30s now and I'm starting to find myself a bit more, which is great.
Yeah.
And back myself and just be like, you know what, I am who I am. I don't need to spend lots of money on perfecting myself, or, you know, but I do think that insecurity, it stems from lots of different things, but I think one of the things it stems from is those standards that we see, and they're always changing. You know, a couple of years ago, I was seeing lots of pictures of supermodels on the catwalk with really unique teeth, for example, because this is one of the things I'm quite self-conscious about, and teeth like mine. And I was like, they're supermodels and they've got teeth like me, like, you know, and that made me feel good. Then lately, I'm not seeing as much of that alternative beauty aesthetic. Where do you feel like we're at now?
Okay, I'm probably going to say a comment that's probably never going to get me a job in the beauty industry ever again, but I'm going to say it. I think at the end of the day, insecurity sells better than confidence does. If products worked how they promise they do,
they're not making money.
They're not making money. If they solve the problem, then that's it. The problem's solved.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you don't feel confident about yourself in a certain way, and a brand can promise you, you know, an element of self-esteem or confidence or escapism, whatever they're offering, you're going to chase that.
Yeah.
And all the while you're still chasing it, you're still going to buy it. Whereas if they offer you a solution or something that actually celebrates you for who you are, which I think should be the point, that's, you know, you're going to buy it once, but then it's done. So I think we have this challenge where what we need and want as human beings is very different from what is profitable to a company.
Yeah.
And much of the beauty industry as we know it within this kind of space is that commercial space. And that's where that challenge really comes in. You know, it's selling a dream.
Do you think there's accountability in the industry when it comes to, like you said, it's about making money?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you know, it's if someone's making washing machines, it's because they want to sell washing machines and make money, not necessarily because they actually want to clean people's clothes for 15 years.
They're not just super into clean socks.
No. They want to make money. We all know, obviously, these companies want to make money. I mean, you look at some of the most famous and wealthy celebrities, they've got makeup companies.
Of course.
Rihanna,
because
Selena
you can
Gomez.
buy into a little bit of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So is there accountability when, you know, these products, when people are buying these products because they actually feel kind of awful about themselves and maybe the products aren't helping, or they're feeding into them not being good enough?
I think there needs to be a huge accountability in the beauty industry. Not just in the mental health space and body image and self-image. I think there also needs to be accountability in the sustainability side of it.
Yeah.
You know, fast beauty is a huge problem.
Yeah.
It's as big an issue as fast fashion now, and it's something people don't think about because it's not projected forward. But all of these components sit together. Yeah. They're all kind of under that same umbrella of accountability. But I do think that's integral. I think, you know, if you're marketing to that everyday person, they want to see themselves reflected in that, and they want to feel that they are seen by that company or by that brand and understood. And that isn't what's happening. What's happening is we have this elitist image. There was actually a statistic by Naomi Wolf, who wrote The Beauty Myth, and this was back in the 90s, so the numbers have probably changed, but it was regarding models, and it was around 1 in 40,000 women fit the standards to be a model. So this was in the 90s, right?
Right.
1 in 40,000. Like, I don't even know 40,000 women.
No.
So I probably don't know a supermodel in there.
No.
But then actually, when you dig further into that statistic and then you look at, okay, well, how many of those supermodels that we know today, or those big model names, how many of them have had cosmetic surgery? Every single one of them would have had something done.
Yeah.
So actually, if it's 1 in 40,000 women are model standard, but all of them have been cosmetically enhanced in some way, then the standard doesn't exist.
No, it's actually not real.
It's not real. And it's like the Matrix. It's like taking a blue pill. Like, in the moment I realised this, I was like, oh, nihilism. The whole thing's fake. None of it's real. It doesn't matter. But your teenage girl in her bedroom, doom scrolling through TikTok, does not know that.
No.
The average person on the high street doesn't know that. Your Aunt Audrey, who just wants that shade of lipstick that she had in the 90s and has now been discontinued, she doesn't know that.
Yeah.
So it paints this narrative of something that you need to strive to achieve, but it doesn't exist. And I think that's so problematic, particularly in a commercial beauty landscape, because we're feeding that beast.
Yeah.
And I think what needs to happen is that brands need to shift their perspective to actually celebrating the every person.
Absolutely.
And making them seen within those campaigns and celebrating that culture. Refy is a brand that historically has had that classic, very young, fresh-faced model. I don't know if you've seen their campaign.
No.
They released this new lipstick pen thing, lovely. But their campaign was all varieties of older women, mature women.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. And then to feature these women in different skin tones, different races, different backgrounds, all mature women who looked phenomenal. They put them out in white suits. It was great. It was delicious. That's something we need to see more of.
Yeah.
We need to see how does that product look on this person, and this person,
Yeah.
but authentically. And I think a lot of the time it's tokenistically done,
Yeah.
which is problematic. It's like, oh, okay, theme of this month is, okay, this month's Black History Month, we're going to drop in something for Black History Month, or this month it's Pride, we're going to drop in something for Pride.
That should be all year.
It should just be a thing.
Yeah.
That, those, you're not just that thing for that month. Those people are there the whole time. You need versatility always in that representation, particularly for commercial spaces.
Yeah. And I think there's something so beautiful about getting older and then seeing an older person and seeing their, like, almost, it sounds weird, their life on their face, being like, oh, look where they've laughed, look where, you know what I mean? Because you can see it on someone's face
100%.
And how stunning they are when they age naturally. And obviously everyone has a choice and no judgment if someone decides to get work done. But when it breaks my heart is when someone feels like they have to, because they're simply not good enough if they don't.
Yeah, and that's where my relationship with cosmetic enhancement, permanent beauty, semi-permanent makeup, all of that's where it becomes conflicted, because I agree. I think if you're doing something for you, do it.
Yeah.
I am all for authentic, living your life, being your own person 100%. But yes, if you are doing it to meet a standard, if you're doing it for a societal pressure, you should be encouraged to pause and think why. And
we're not, though, are we?
We're not. We're encouraged to just keep going.
I feel like we're encouraged not to question it, actually.
Well, yeah, of course you are.
Don't question it, just
Don't
get it
question
done.
it, just
Buy
do it.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. If someone doesn't genuinely like something about themselves and it makes them unhappy and that's how they feel, do something about that. If you want to, go for it. I support you. But yeah, you should never change something because an external factor, particularly a company or someone you've never met, an influencer, anything like that, is pushing that narrative.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that they don't know you. They don't care.
No.
It's there as, a way for them to make money. And it comes back to that.
Yeah. I mean, we're not seeing the representation we should, are we? I mean,
no.
And I know this because, and I'm not an expert, but I just saw an advert yesterday. I think it was an advert for a razor, like a women's razor. And I was like, oh, wow, the 3 women in the advert, they've all got different body shapes. And the fact that I was so pleased to see 3 women with different body shapes clearly shows that I don't see that enough in adverts. Because I was like, look.
Yeah, right.
Clearly we're not seeing it enough.
No.
And when I was on ASOS recently, who I love, I buy lots of clothes from ASOS. The jeans that I bought on the model, she had the smallest size on because it says, doesn't it?
Yes.
They were hanging off of her. And when they arrived, they don't fit an average woman that way because, she was minuscule. She was very tall.
1 in 40,000.
Exactly. We're not seeing ourselves reflected. And can you think of any brands, I mean, you've mentioned one that are doing it really well or at least trying to break the mold a little bit?
So Refy's definitely one. Merit do a nice job of featuring a variety of individuals, but then again it's always a lot of women, and I think as well men also exist within a beauty space. Obviously people outside of different gender constructs also exist within a beauty space.
Absolutely.
If beauty is not an exclusive thing just for women of a certain age to go and engage with, so I think variety can be pushed, but yes, there are definitely brands who do better. I mean, Fenty did, when they first launched, they were doing phenomenal at that representation of skin tone and gender, and that's fantastic, but then age is sometimes still missing, and I think it's that difficult playground with the commercial beauty space of how do you get everything in at once. And I think if we overthink the problem, that's why it becomes a problem, whereas actually I think if we were just thinking authentically about, right, okay, we need to sell this product, how do we cater to everyone? Obvious answer, feature everybody. But then on the flip side of that, and working within that space, I'm also aware you've got budgets, you've got timelines, you might be told you're only allowed 2 models, so then who do you choose? So it's really difficult, and I think it comes back to that accountability, and that responsibility goes higher. It needs to go right to the top, but that's a big challenge to get the people at the top to change ideologies, because that's an ideology that's worked for them since, the cosmetics space. Like since the 1920s, when cosmetics became, more mass produced and available, it's worked. So that's 100 years. So you're trying to unpick 100 years of a marketing ideology that has worked.
Because it has worked.
And it has worked.
Because I was just thinking as you were talking there, if all brands suddenly started featuring everyday women and men, and people who choose not to identify by a traditional gender, if we just started seeing people that did reflect us, would we be freaked out? Would we like it? Would we want to buy those products? Because I wonder if we're kind of not brainwashed, but conditioned to expect to see perfection.
So this brings me beautifully back. See what I did there? Brings me back to that evolutionary argument, and this is the problem. So this is the catch, right? Because we are programmed to want to see that. So if then suddenly everything becomes representative, and we watch the TV and the adverts show, everyone that we know, we can see ourselves amongst those people. What we're probably not going to feel is then, I don't need that product. I've got something similar that does the same thing. Because the way that this imagery works is that, and I'm sure we've all had that experience where you've gone, oh my God, that blusher looks phenomenal on that model, or that mascara looks incredible. And then you put it on you and you go, oh, it doesn't quite look the same. Why doesn't it look the same? Well, you're not her.
I'm not Liv Tyler.
You're not Liv Tyler.
I was watching a Vogue beauty video one time during COVID, and I was like, I think I might buy her the blush she's using.
Right.
And then I was like, no, I'm never going to look like this woman.
And then actually, when you start taking those products apart, you realise you actually already own that blush colour 4 times. It's just been put in a different box, is the reality of that situation. But as human beings, we are looking for something that makes us go, ooh. We want to be awe-inspired. We want to have that sensory reaction to what is beautiful. And that's where those ideas of like the sublime or being awe-inspiring come in, because beauty is, as much as it is a physical thing, it's also a sensory thing. Beauty is a feeling. It provokes or promotes a response in the body, whether that is confidence, love, attraction, or it triggers something. So then if beauty marketing becomes fully representative, it risks losing that in the long term. I think initially we'd still have it because we're seeing what we want to see, but then we're going to look for something else potentially to give us that.
It's aspirational, isn't it? It's like, oh yeah, maybe I could.
And that's very human.
Look like her too, or look like him too. I mean, it does. I was watching random Graham Norton recently. It's funny. And Tessa Thompson was on there. And I mean, that woman, objectively stunning. And you're right. I was literally like, I was turning to the person next to me like, wow, have you, like, look at her cheekbones. Look at this woman. Like, I was blown away by her beauty. So I mean, we don't notice it, do we, at the time, I suppose. We're not, when we're admiring someone or something beautiful, we're not like, I'm admiring something or someone beautiful.
No, you just do it. And it's interesting, you said there, like, bone structure. Which, when you think about it, you're admiring a skeleton.
That's really strange.
Which is weird. But
they were good bones.
They are good bones. But that's biology.
Yeah.
Because that is, us looking for suitable mates or suitable partners, or, people that like who we want to be around. So that's a biological response. But yeah, essentially, because someone's got good cheekbones, congrats on your skeleton.
I know, I feel weird now.
Muscle tone's great.
I love people's skeletons. Yeah, where are we at today in the sense of, when I was prepping for this episode, I kind of felt maybe we were seeing a regression because we've seen some adverts be banned. So
yes.
2 Zara adverts recently, Next and Marks and Spencer all had adverts banned for similar reasons. Those reasons being that the models they featured looked concerningly slim.
Yeah.
And those were banned by the Advertising Standards Authority. So another thing that concerned me following that was Vogue featuring an AI model in a Guess advert.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful AI robot. And then at the same time all this is happening, I read an interesting article on the BBC about more and more young people in their 20s and 30s getting facelifts. So one person, and I'm sure she's not on her own here, had 6 cosmetic surgeries in one procedure and was quoted as saying she now felt like she was the best version of herself.
Yeah.
And I just found that heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's not new either.
No, it's not.
No.
It's not new. So
it's a thing though.
Yeah.
So something that is discussed within fashion psychology, and it links into beauty psychology, is this idea of Snapchat dysmorphia.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of this.
No.
It's where we are so reliant now on filters
Yeah.
and AI modification in how we look and photograph ourselves. We now seek to replicate that within cosmetic surgery spaces. So we seek to create that. So the fuller lips, the bigger eyes, the smaller chin, the smaller nose, all of that.
The cheeks.
We're looking to now recreate that. So, and this is a dysmorphic disorder. So we have a separation now between the reality of what we look like and what we're trying to achieve within those spaces. And that is hugely problematic for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But it even filters down into those basic things of basic brands, everyday brands, and the models that they are choosing. But I also think we run a risk of isolating or alienating people who are also naturally very lean. So I think it comes back to that representation.
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
has to be variety. There has to be balance. And I think, you should never go to either extremes of an extreme body representation. If you're showing something which is highly problematic and linked to a disorder or a dysmorphic behaviour or a really bad health thing, an illness, that obviously shouldn't be encouraged. But some people are naturally very lean. Some people are naturally fuller figured.
Absolutely.
So that should also be included in that space. I think, it's balance and it's having a sensible approach to these things. I think to take slim models fully away from something, let's say they pushed it to the extremes, they're like, right, we're going to ban all slim models. Yeah. Well, then that
would be right.
It punishes a whole group of people. And then, I know I was a very gangly teen. I'm tall. I was gangly. I was awkward. Limbs were far too long. If I was thinking about where I was maybe at 14, 15 years of age, I would think then, well, then my body type is wrong, or the way I look is wrong, in the same way that someone who has a disability, if they're not included, may feel that. If someone is fuller figured and doesn't see themselves, if you start alienating people, it's going to have a repercussion. Absolutely. So what needs to happen is authentic inclusion. Yes. Everyone needs to be present. Yeah. Everyone needs to be a part of the conversation. And that needs to be the difference between commercial spaces and art spaces. And I think that is the problem we have now when we talk about high-end beauty, high-end fashion, editorial beauty, and how that filters down into commercial spaces. There isn't enough differentiation between the two. When we talk about editorial beauty and we talk about those gorgeous creative images, or the looks that went out on like runways, like McQueen used to do incredible, elaborate looks. That's an art space.
Yeah, and that's different.
And I think within an art space, you have the right to be selective because you are creating art in the same way a painter will paint a certain shape. But it's about understanding the difference between the two. And now they're so blurred, there isn't that. Commercial spaces need to be representative of the everyday person because they're for the everyday person. An editorial image for a gallery or something like that, that's not necessarily for your everyday person. I still think there needs to be a consciousness around it, but you have artistic license. Yeah. And I think that's where those two landscapes need to shift apart a bit more. At the moment, the waters are very murky.
That's so interesting. It's really not something I've considered before until literally hearing you say it. Because for example, yesterday I was reading an Our interview of Mia Goth, Mirgo, not sure how to pronounce her last name. And she looks very gothic because she's in Frankenstein.
Yes.
And they'd obviously done the creative to kind of match that.
Yeah.
But I didn't look at it and think, oh wow, she looks so amazing, and I feel so awful about myself. I looked at it and thought, wow, she looks so cool, and because it was very arty.
Yeah.
So there's a real.
It
now
had
you're saying
female
that.
gaze.
Yeah, it is so different, isn't it? Actually,
it was very different. It wasn't. It was gentle. It was romantic. It was soft. And I think that's the difference. I think a lot of the beauty imagery we have embodies a very male gaze perspective, and by that I mean it's sexy, designed to be sexy, and it's all about meeting a certain standard. Whereas the female gaze, and there are loads of other gaze theories, but we won't dive into that because
that could be a whole other.
This will turn into a whole different podcast. Yeah. But the female gaze is much more emotional and softer and more into the feelings and the ideas of things.
Yeah.
That's the difference. And that's where you get that shift. So I can always tell when a woman has created, or someone who's applying a female gaze has created a campaign or done something within a fashion and beauty space for that consumer.
Yeah.
Because it will automatically read differently.
It's amazing.
It's like looking at the old Tom Ford perfume adverts, which I'm sure we've all seen, with perfume bottles in questionable places. It's very, very different to, a depiction like Frankenstein.
Yeah.
The shift is very clear once you know what you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that's the thing. Most of us don't. We don't know what to look for,
because
right?
they don't want you to.
No, but you know, because you're an expert.
Yeah, I will say it ruins everything. I'm so not fun. People are like, come to this brand launch. I'm like, you've just repackaged the same thing. It's like, stop doing that, Charlie. You're ruining things for people.
Yeah. I want to move us on to the self-care aspect.
Yes.
During COVID, as I said, I was watching Vogue beauty videos.
Yeah.
I was buying some products. And I feel like me and my friends started spending a lot more money on skincare.
Yeah.
But that really did feel like just a really joyful, kind of nourishing self-care vibe at a time where really we couldn't do a whole lot.
100%.
Like, our hands were tied in terms of everything was beyond our control at that time.
Yeah.
But I want to ask now, is it really self-care, or were we tricking ourselves? Is there something a bit more sinister behind those messages of this is going to make you feel good?
So this is where my research is. This is my jam with beauty. I very much believe that actually, yes, beauty can be that authentic space, and it can be about self-care. It's about how you shift that narrative. So a really fun experimentation to do, and everyone could do this, you can join in at home.
Oh, fun.
Is to take all the labels off your beauty products.
Yeah.
And just have the products. And do you still love them and use them in the same way? If you do, then you love the experience of the product, you love the applying of that cream, you love the smell of it, you love the texture, the sensation, whatever it is. If you don't, you actually don't have a connection with that thing and that material. Yeah. And I think that's where beauty should sit, in that experience.
Yeah.
When you go to a spa, for example, you take time, you slow down, you turn off, hopefully you turn your phone off in a spa. If you don't, you're not digital detoxing. But you are taking time, you're covering yourself in mud and potions and lotions, and you smell fantastic. You're engaging in rituals.
Yeah.
But you do come out of it feeling better. It's proven as a tool of self-care in that way. So I think if we're talking about beauty in that space, we need to re-immerse that relationship.
Absolutely.
And actually have it as a tool for a bit of self-transformation. If you want to feel more confident, go do something that's going to give you that. Like, that's the whole principle of like a red lipstick.
Yeah.
Red is a confident, bold colour. If you put that on, people are going to notice you. It has a connotation behind it.
Yeah.
So I think that's the bit we need to re-engage with.
Absolutely.
And we've lost our signature in beauty. And that's what we need to bring back. I know my grandmother had a signature lipstick, a signature nail polish, and a signature scent.
And how wonderful is that? I do love that.
But we've lost that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that we live in a society now that is so obsessed with identity, yet we have none.
Yeah.
Because we just follow trend after trend after trend.
Is this to do with saturation as well? Like, there's so much.
Absolutely.
There's, I don't even know how many concealers, foundations,
And if you swatch them all, they're all the same.
Yeah.
Yes, the formula might change slightly. Yes, the finish might shift slightly. But at the end of the day, when it dries down after 12 hours, a concealer's a concealer, a lipstick's a lipstick.
Yeah. You're paying for the brand.
You're paying for the brand.
Absolutely. I feel like, and I don't want to be harsh on the consumer, I'm a consumer, maybe we need to really challenge ourselves to have that awareness as well.
100%.
When we're going, I've landed, I'm sure listeners really want to hear about my skincare routine, but I've landed on a wonderful skincare routine. It took, I'm 31 now, it took me a while.
But it works for you, right?
Yeah, it genuinely feels lovely. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I've literally taken the day off, and after this little routine.
But that's a beauty ritual. You've taken the day off so you feel refreshed.
Absolutely. So I wonder if we just need to challenge ourselves a bit more, because when I asked you about accountability, I'm wondering if it really does sit with the consumer as well.
It does.
It's a balance.
It does. You have to vote with your wallet. You have to vote with your behaviours, and you need to be a conscious consumer.
Yeah.
They don't want you to be.
No.
But you need to be.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you are still buying into something that you fundamentally disagree with, you're still enabling it.
Absolutely.
So if you want to see a certain change within a beauty depiction, but you're still buying products from that company, or you're still putting money in their pockets, you're feeding the beast.
Yes.
So you have to hold some of that accountability yourself.
Definitely.
And that's why I encourage the challenge of, take your labels off your products.
Do they
Actually
still
think
feel
about
good?
what you're doing. Yeah, 100%. Do you still love that lipstick? When you find that lipstick that's at the bottom of your bag that's battered, looks grim, it's got like a bit of
hairy.
fluff on it, it's got hair on it, do you still open it and go, oh my God, I love that colour? Or are you keen to throw it away?
Yeah.
Go and open your cupboards at home. How much discarded makeup is just sat there? How much discarded skincare is just sat there?
It's just materialism, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like all the buying.
But that requires you to train yourself, and that's hard, and that
It
doesn't
is
happen overnight.
And like you said, the industry doesn't want it, so
No.
they're not promoting it.
You're unpicking hundreds of years of social conditioning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to acknowledge, actually, as we come to the close, and I wish we had a lot longer. It's really hard to talk about these things, actually, because I think it's a sensitive subject.
It is.
You
It's
know,
identity.
Yeah.
You are unpicking identity.
And, people, I hate that we all feel at times rubbish about ourselves. Like, I really hate it, because I really wish we could all just wake up in the morning and be like, oh, we're so wonderful. But it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen, does it?
I think they wrote a Greek myth about that.
Yeah. Like, I wish that were the case. But the truth is it's not.
No.
So obviously the beauty industry does serve a purpose, and it actually brings a lot of joy.
It does.
When it's done mindfully.
When it's done mindfully. And I think that's where beauty needs to go inward again.
Yeah.
It needs to come from within. What are you needing from beauty? It's a tool. Beauty tools. It's a product. It's a ritual. Therefore, it needs you to enact it.
Not a reaction to something you've seen.
Not a reaction to something you've seen. It should be an inaction, not a reaction.
Okay, so let's talk about a future. We've seen an AI model in Vogue now.
Yes.
I'm sure they've been other places. I've just not acknowledged them.
Oh, they've been around for ages.
It's really hard to tell.
Yeah, we've had AI models for, I'm trying to think, years now.
They're very realistic, obviously.
Yeah, they're
concerning.
Good. Yeah.
What do we expect to see in the next few years in the beauty industry? More of that, less of that? Because people do feel a bit like they're rallying against it.
I think it's going to be a bit of a divide. I think the people that love it are going to want more of it. And I think there are spaces where AI is fantastic in the beauty space, particularly, shopping. If someone isn't able-bodied and able to get out and go to a shop or finds that experience awful, I know I find a department store hell. AI and going experiencing things in those ways are fantastic. There's also, companies that are designing different ways of designing makeup looks on AI models, and those things are phenomenal. From a creative standpoint, fantastic. But I think on the flip side, you're going to have people also hate that and go completely the other way. And I think it's about having options, but also the education to understand what's real and what's not.
Yes, that's so important, isn't it? Do you think there's an education piece, almost, school? I don't know how we protect young people almost.
Beauty is a tricky landscape because it's design, it's psychology, it's sociology, it's identity, it's a bit of politics and economics in there as well.
Yeah.
I think school, I'd love for it to be a space to be taught in school.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately it also comes down to a responsibility we have as a society.
Yeah.
I think we need to be there and present for what we're teaching our young people and teaching our children and the behaviours we put in place. I know behaviours I picked up are things that my mother and my grandmother said and did, and that's ingrained. That learning environment is there from the beginning. So I think the responsibility begins with us.
Absolutely. Yeah, to protect our younger generations.
Your friends, your children, your children's children, whoever's in your life.
Yeah. And in terms of that well-being piece,
yes,
I mean, do we see a shift in the industry? And I'm thinking, not warnings on products, but caveats on products or some kind of expectation setting, because I like it can be damaging, not all the time. Like we said, there's wonderful things about beauty products and investing in that way in ourselves, because it does bring a sense of self-care and love. But for those that maybe it impacts negatively, do you see any shifts coming?
I think it's always going to be a bit of a battleground. I think all the while we exist in a very consumer society, and that is the machine that's being fed. And that capitalism ball is rolling in that way. We're always going to see it. But I think that's where it comes back to our engagement, voting with your wallet, having an awareness, and being transparent. And hopefully, if we start to demand that from brands, they will begin to show us more of that and realise that is an authentic thing we want to see. But it might take a bit of re-education going the other way. They've educated us for a long time in their standards, and I think we need to maybe re-educate back the other way.
And do you have any kind of forecast of what trends we might see? Because it's changing all the time, isn't it?
It is changing all the time. There's definitely a big movement going forward with kind of awareness of what's in products. So the clean beauty industry is definitely growing, which I'm all for. But that's a whole different podcast. Because I am a little bit of a...
Do you have that app?
Yes, that tells the Yucca app. I run everything through UWG.
I wouldn't want to do that with my products.
No, I am a terrible crunchy person. So that's a whole different conversation, because I will go on an absolute rabbit hole with that.
Cool. We'll see you next year.
We'll see you next year for The World is Poison.
I can't wait for that one.
That's awful. I've just said The World is Poison.
No, I think that's hilarious.
Shoe fits. But yeah, I think we're definitely seeing a movement towards that. People are more aware. We have more access to information than ever. We're demanding those answers. I think we're going to see a shift in that. People want to see a shift in representation. And, there's certain trends predicted about the beauty industry slowing down again. We are entering unstable economic times. People don't have the disposable income. So I think that landscape will shift. In regards of trends, there's always going to be those micro trends, and they tend to dominate. The things that pop up on TikTok, the words that I no longer understand what they mean anymore, but they're things apparently. Those are always going to be there. I think it's just about how we engage with it. But I'd like to see the beauty industry slow down. If I could push a trend, which I can't, but who knows? Let's start it here. I want to push that slow beauty.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see as a trend.
Nice. TikTok controls everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Beauty, books, food, clothes.
Particularly beauty, it's huge.
Yeah, well, I don't have TikTok because I'm old and boring. But
I will admit I deleted it.
Did you?
Because after turning 30, my God, the algorithm changed.
Do we want to know?
Just social media is a judgy place when you're no longer in your 20s.
Yeah, okay, interesting.
So, but that again, that plays into that self-esteem.
Yes,
because overnight it was, if you're not here, you're not doing enough. If you're doing this, you're doing too much.
Yeah.
Have a baby, don't have a baby, get married, don't get married, do this, don't do that, get Botox, don't get Botox. I was like, geez.
Wear some eye cream.
Wear eye cream, don't wear eye cream. So social media I'm distancing myself from.
Yes. Same, I've deleted Instagram.
But that's a conscious choice.
Yeah.
And actually I would argue my mental health is better for it.
So perhaps the older that we get, the wiser we get, and the safer our well-being is. Charlotte, it's been awesome.
It's been great.
I wish we could talk for a lot more.
Let's do this again.
Yeah, let's just do it for fun.
Let's do more.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Big thanks to Charlotte for joining us on this week's episode of Explained, and thank you, listener, for tuning in. Like what you heard today? Let us know. You can find us online at solent.ac.uk, as well as on all your favourite podcasts and social media platforms. Leave a review to let us know what you thought of today's episode, and be the first to hear the next episode by hitting that subscribe button. Thank you, and see you soon.